Hello Minecrafters, and welcome once again to my old Nether Update world, where today we're going to be looking at oak farming. Now I do like oak as a building material, but it's underused because spruce is so much easier to obtain in large quantities. In early game I laid out this 36 tree field in a standard 5x5 block planting grid. And although I've made some improvements to the farm over the period since, such as preventing the growth of the large oak variants, it still costs me an average 2.86 seconds per log. That's about double the cost of spruce logs, which means that this Efficiency 5 netherite axe is only operating at 14% of its theoretical capacity. So let's slip across to my new 1.17 survival world and see if we can engineer a much more efficient early game oak farm that we can be proud of. Our first task is to get some comparison data for oak logging with a stone axe. Taking into account cooldown delay, the breaking time of oak logs with an Efficiency 5 netherite axe is 0.4 seconds, whereas that with stone axe is 1.05 seconds. So all things being equal, we might expect oak log cost on this run to be somewhere around 3.5 seconds per log. And indeed, that proves to be the case as I clear and replant this 60 tree field at an average log cost of 3.43 seconds. It seems like this spread out farm design carries an intrinsic time penalty of around 2.5 seconds per log, independent of the tool used. And any real improvements in efficiency probably require a much denser planting. The Minecraft wiki suggests this sort of planting idea, with lighting blocks positioned in this 2 steps forward, 1 step to the right pattern, so that every sapling is immediately adjacent to a lighting block. I've gone for an 11 by 11 planting area within a polished deep slate boundary, which I think goes quite well with the orange jack-o'-lanterns. Planting the saplings is certainly a much quicker business, with 96 planted in 69 seconds. That's better than a 70% improvement on the standard field. The only awkward part to the build is placing 121 glass panes 10 blocks above the planting area. This prevents growth of the tall oak variant without, as far as I can tell, any impact on growth rates. You can see straight away that it's possible to get quite a decent rhythm going with this planting, smoothly sweeping up one trunk and down the next, in great contrast to the stuttering rhythm of the standard planting. But there are still some small delays in negotiating the unplanted blocks and executing the turns, and it did occur to me during this run that if we could just plant the trees in a straight line, we could do away with both the gaps and the turns. We'll come back to that idea later. I managed to clear about 80 trees on the first day. That's around 400 logs, so not a bad haul for 10 minutes work. And after a quick night's sleep, I set about clearing the last 2 rows. But now the real drawbacks of this system are starting to become obvious. Leaf decay is delayed by several minutes. while there are still unbroken logs close enough to keep them in the canopy. And as the Wikipedia page warns, the saplings I do get are very few in number. Around one sapling for every 2 trees planted. So the system as it stands is unsustainable. I need the excess saplings generated by the standard planting to subsidise the deficit in this one. And then there's the question of finding something productive to do while I'm waiting for the remaining leaves to decay. Well, there's no harm in stocking up on a few melons and pumpkins, I suppose. When all due credits are given for sticks and apples and so forth, the net performance of this farm can be given as 496 oak logs minus 43 oak saplings in 966 seconds. To address the sapling deficit, we can look to the corresponding performance of the standard farm, and a little bit of algebra tells us that if we properly balance the operation of the 2 farms, our oak log cost comes down to 2.25 seconds. It's a good start, but I think we can do a little better than that. Let's start with a standard 3x2 chunk field. That is 49 blocks by 33 blocks, and come in diagonally 4 blocks at each corner to give us a nicely symmetrical planting area of 41 blocks by 25 blocks. But there's more to justify these numbers than simple aesthetics. From trials, I know that it consistently takes me a shade over 4 minutes to log a solid line of 41 trees with a stone axe, so reaching the end of the line becomes a cue to take a break and collect leaf drops before they start despawning. And at the top end of the farm, 41 blocks conveniently accommodates 9 trees planted 5 blocks apart. I've also increased the row spacing to 6 blocks, as this will create a 1 block gap between the canopies of each row, accelerating the leaf decay process. One major advantage of this concept over the previous one is that this linear planting produces far more leaves, and therefore many more saplings. Not quite 1 sapling per tree, but around 0.9, so we don't need anything like as high a contribution from the low density planting. But at least as important as these Minecraft mechanics aspects are the work processes we employ to exploit them. Perhaps it's time to give my voice a little rest and let a time lapse do the explaining for me. And on that note, I wish you all a very good night.